Hello, Jade. How do I say your last name? Theriault.
No,
Theriault.
no,
Tiro.
no.
How do I say your last name?
It's Theriault.
Theriault. Why
Yeah,
don't I know that? I should have
it's
fucking.
okay. It's very common in Canada. It's like Smith in Canada.
Really? Theriault is?
Yeah.
Jade Theriault, my absolute favorite comedian, one of my favorite people,
Mm.
a creative powerhouse, an evil genius, a good genius, and somebody that I feel like you bend space and time. Before I remember when I first met you was on the BART, and I remember you were just sitting, just in the middle of the train. And I was like looking at you, and I think we started talking about, I had a vape pen or something, and we started talking about vapes and weed. And I only talked to you for a second, but I was like, what an interesting person. Like you were just, I don't know, like engaging. We only talked for like maybe a minute, 2 minutes or whatever. And I was like, huh. Then I saw you, but you were in my mind, and I was like, huh, cool. And then I saw you one day driving down a road, and then I was like, huh, that's that person from the BART. And what happened was I went in to the Critical Hit Comedy Club, and I was sitting in my chair looking at the stage, and then they're like, Jade, in Theriault is coming up, whatever. And I was just sitting there. I was like, oh, cool, new comedian. And then you came up, and I was like, oh, it's you, it's her. And I was like, wow. And then you came up and you did the most incredible Zen slap comedy. Like everybody was like laughing and uncomfortable and just like glued. They were just, I was like, this is the greatest night of my life. This person reveals themselves as like this genius, is so interesting. And then you were off, and I was like that. And I looked at Christy, and I was like, that was the fucking best thing. And then I was thinking, I'm gonna introduce myself to Jade, and I'm gonna offer to do artwork for an album cover or something. I have to help. I have to know this person. And then I went to go find you, and you had disappeared into the night like a total mystery. And I was like, oh my God, this person is like an enigma. And then I remember I was like, hey, have you seen this Jade comedian? Like I was like asking around and everything. And then Jesse Fernandez like, oh yeah, she's the best and whatever. And I started to kind of like key in on you, and then we became friends, and I was like, oh man, you're the coolest. And but I just really, I found you on Instagram, and then I was like a total voyeur. Like this person is such a genius, like so fucking funny.
Creep. No.
Yeah, I was like lurking. I was like, dude, this person's amazing. And then I started to see that you're a singer. You're like, you do this art. Like I went to your website, and there's all this like weird digital art on there and all this stuff. And I was like, you really, you lived up to the hype I had in my mind. Right? Who's this mysterious, like interesting person? And so anyways, that's my long-winded intro.
No, I'm just soaking it in. I'm just like, feed me this.
But then, so that's why I was so pumped when you're like, hey, I did a little short film. I made a short film. Would you want to help with it? And I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'm jumping all over this.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
yeah, great.
Yeah. And so it's cool to see your robot arm.
Oh, yeah. It's the one that I was saying. I feel like it's important to say this now that we're recording. The key is the lack of visual noise. That's the key to my genius. If you take, like, see, you're doing it wrong. This is, no. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, I should introduce you. It was funny. You hit me up on Instagram, and I was like, I remember you from Critical Hit more. I remember the Bart encounter, but it was a retroactive memory. Yeah. Because it was like, oh yeah, that weirdo on Bart. Yeah. So yeah. So you're like my third or fourth father figure in my life. I don't know.
That's a lot of responsibility for me, but it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, you guys could all be gay for each other if you want. I could just have like four gay dads
together.
Yeah. Only four though.
That's the ultimate. So yeah, I guess, because we're friends, we talk all the time and stuff, but like, I guess I do kind of want to know, I see these photos of you when you were little, and I was like, there's the little Jade. And I always wonder, like, at what point did you start to just feel like, or when did you just start to kind of just function as like a super creative person? Were you just like, oh, I'm going to sing now? Or like, I have a lot of thoughts about things. I'm going to make comedy. Like, I don't know, like, how did it kind of germinate? Like, what is that?
Well, there was definitely some time. So yeah, I come from a musical family. So on my dad's side, mostly he's a musician, and so he's been in bands, like industrial bands, my whole life. So it was like I grew up with that, and so I always wanted to sing and make music, but I was never very good at it growing up. Like, well, because I was a kid and I had a speech impediment, and I just didn't, like really, I didn't really have a voice, so to speak. But I was working on it. And then in high school, high school is kind of when it really took off. I mean, I was writing a lot of angsty, shitty poetry.
Yeah, me
actually, yeah, rivers of blood and all that, my pain.
My pain.
You know what? But my pain fucking rhymed, and I thought that was important. Like, these motherfuckers over here not rhyming, and I'm like, your pain is pointless. It doesn't even make sense.
Your pain doesn't rhyme. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, mine has a fucking cadence in the system and some alliteration, so I was proud of that. But so I did a lot of poetry, and I posted it on DeviantArt.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and then there was all this DeviantArt drama between me and the goth drum major I had a crush on, but it was like a whole big heartbreak thing. So anyway,
I can't believe that DeviantArt drama to me sounds.
Oh yeah.
Delicious.
Well, there was kids who would like make fake accounts and fucking cyberbullying and fucking calling each other's poetry shitty and my poetry. Just like,
This sounds like it's going to be a Bobcat Goldthwait movie or something.
Yeah, it starts off in the most boring way with poetry. No. So then in my senior year, me and my good friend, we would watch Louis C.K. in the band room. And then my friend, he was kind of he always kind of had like a business mind, like, how can we make money on you? Like pointing to me,
Right.
And like, you should do comedy. And I never even liked comedy that much. I kind of, I never really understood. I didn't like comedy because I never understood how they did it. And that's why I didn't like it, which was weird. Because I knew they were able to, these comedians were able to come up with these jokes and these non sequiturs and these puns and these just weird ways to make you laugh. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't understand it. I thought, oh, they must have writers, or no one can just come up with that,
Right.
like that's too clever. And I also had a short attention span, so I get bored and I just, but I started getting into Louis, which was scandalous, but that's how it happened. And then I did my Christian talent show at school, and that was my first show. And then I did some summer camp stuff, and then I went to college, and then just kind of went from there.
Oh my God. So your friend was like, okay, so how do we make money off you? So you guys are like scheming, like watching these videos and just going, oh shit, how we could do that. Like, dude, we could be big, man. We could do this.
Yeah. And he's funny. He always wanted to be like, I'll be your manager. And then and now he's like, off married with kids somewhere, but every once in a while we talk every couple months. He's like, yeah, I'll manage you still. And it's like,
yeah, you know what? You know what's interesting is like, I always think that too. People see comedy or they see art or they see whatever, like all this stuff, and they go, oh, I can't do that. But it's like, no, you kind of have to sort of, it's like exercising or it's like anything where you have to do stuff through repetition or put yourself in a position where you're thinking that way.
Right.
It feels like, sometimes I'm like, I'm finding myself having fun, like in my mind, writing jokes that I think are funny. And then I keep it in my mind and then I kind of revisit it. And then all of a sudden, like some new little angle will pop up. And and I'm not even a comedian. I'm not.
Oh, you're hilarious though. I watch you.
Okay. But it's like different because it's like the most low stakes, like basically like doing Instagram comedy is like the lowest stake, like thing. But, stand up is, the pressure of just being there and being like, okay, this is my thing, let's go. And it's, I don't know, like when I watch your jokes and like, just like your stage presence and everything, I'm like, this is such a unique, I don't know, perspective. It's borderline performance art sometimes. Like I saw you when you were like trying to destroy the stage. Like, just like, I'm just like, dude, I am just here for this fucking chaos. This is incredible. And, but then like, I don't know, just like your observations and stuff and, confronting people and shit. I'm like, this is it. This is what people like, really need to remember, that like life isn't a series of boxes to check off or whatever, So.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, well, one thing you were saying just about stand up being like, I mean, it's funny because like whenever I watch your stories and stuff, I always think to myself like, oh, Skinner, you gotta get up on stage and tell some bits or something. But it made me think about how I'm noticing that most people are actually, not most people, but a lot of people are really funny, just naturally funny. And like I had a friend who like she would just make jokes about random shit at parties, and I'd be like, oh my God, that needs to be on stage. Yeah. And but she would never do that because it's one of those things where it's like so much of it that's hard is to just getting up there and being in front of everyone and having to, be perfect and feel the laughter. And the laughter is the stakes. It's like when you're doing an Instagram story or you're at a party or something, there's no stakes.
Exactly. Like nothing. Like you just like, if nobody thinks I'm funny, like whatever.
Yeah. But that's what makes you the most funny, because your anxiety is all the way on the ground. You have no anxiety. So it's like, so the trick with stand-up is to be able to get up there and crush your anxiety.
Yeah. So it's like, you have to master the art of not really caring or being comfortable, I guess, like comfortable in that position, which I think that's the thing is maybe most people are pretty funny or can be funny, but most people cannot be comfortable talking in front of a crowd of individuals in that context at all.
Yeah. Especially if what you're saying is hinged on whether you're going to get that gig again, whether you're going to get paid. It's like, all this shit that's really, fundamental, especially if you're trying to make a career out of it.
Right. Layered. Also, just like deviant art, the scene of comedy is such a small scene because it's basically predicated on a small group of individuals who spend all their time making insane jokes and that are the only ones who are comfortable to get up in front of people to say it. So it's like the people in comedy, I noticed like over the years, I'm like, they're intense. They're like intense people. It's a little bit like graffiti writers and stuff where I'm like, it's like a whole different, species of people, you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, holy shit. But I will say this, there is such a difference between hanging out with comedians than hanging out with like regular people that aren't comedians, because it's like you don't have to explain anything. You're just like saying fucked up shit and they just know it's a joke, and you're just like you're in it together. And I noticed that sometimes I'm kind of frustrated because I'll be in my mode of being like an obnoxious joke fucking person. And I'll be like, man, I can't let loose because everybody here is like regular people that won't understand. Cause do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's funny. As you were saying this, I was thinking to myself, well, there's some cliques of comedians that also can't take a joke, but
yeah.
But, I mean, it's true, and I've noticed that just in general, I'm closer to people who are senses of humor match, and like can laugh at fucked up shit. It's not even about matching of humor. It's about just fucking being okay with humor.
Yeah.
Just being okay with just like letting loose and trusting that if I say something or they say something, we're not coming at it from racism or phobia or,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, totally.
We're just having fun with the world.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, I always think that because I kind of was like feeling sort of frustrated sometimes when I'm like doing things that I think are really humorous or jokey, like on Instagram, where I'm like I noticed that a lot of people were not maybe like getting it. And I was like kind of frustrated because I'm like, yeah, because I'm not, it's like people are looking at my stuff, my internet presence for like artwork. It's like, I'm not sanctioned as a comedian. So it's like, I can't. So it's like almost like people are like, wait, what? Why is he saying all this weird shit? You know what I mean? It's like, dude, it's jokes. But
I mean, I relate to that because it's like there's a big disconnect because I feel like, and maybe I'm just, I always wonder if I'm overthinking it or not, but especially in the Bay Area, there's the disabled community, which is in a lot of ways the disabled queer community, which in a lot of ways is the disabled queer left community, so it's like, it just gets more, and there is a narrative among the most radical, because I don't want to group them all together, because there's so much color and variety in these communities, but among the most radical, there's this idea that there needs to be a very far left cliche narrative, or that I feel like me as a disabled comedian, I need to talk about disabled issues. And my message and my goal as an artist is to bring down ableism and create awareness and, blah, 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 blah. And then not say anything that's going to rock the boat in a way that is against that perfect radical ideology of You get what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So they're like, so essentially you're like, hey, I get it. Like I'm for all these things.
Of course
I'm for this stuff, but would it be possible that you didn't trap me inside of all these things too? Like, because that's what it feels like.
I'm bored. I'm bored, Skinner. Like I'm bored of the fucking like that. I see so many disabled artists, and I have to say there are so many disabled artists I respect and think are geniuses as well. But there's a cliche of just like, look, I'm disabled and I'm super quick and I can do this. Or it's just like I'm bored of that. I'm not doing that. I'm doing what I think is funny. I'm destroying the stage. I'm doing shit because what are we doing if we're not making something new? What the fuck are we doing as artists?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I also feel like, that's a little bit like telling, say somebody who's like a Mexican comedian and just being like, okay, everything that you talk about has to be Mexican stuff.
Yeah. It's there's a lot of parallels to that. And
it's like I don't like you're like, oh, if you're like a black comedian, it's like it has to be like 90s or what's that that one theater where they go like totally wild in there and shit. I know what you mean. It's like you're like, hey, I reserve the right to exist in a way that doesn't occupy a concept that you're attached to.
Yeah, and also just I have to add, it's like it's important because I don't want to also push disability out of my act because I can't. I mean, it informs so much of my life that it's like so. And there's some comics in the scene who do some racial humor, like Enoch Chino and Frankie Lee. They have a lot of racial jokes. Like Enoch, his whole set is racial, but it's so fucking weird and funny and different and meta and like it's doing things that other comics aren't doing. So it's like I'm still like genius. Keep doing that. That's fucking So like with the disability humor, it's like I want to find what's under it. What's in there more. Yeah. And if I don't feel like talking about it, I'm not going to talk about it.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Is like let's not just be hacks or whatever. Like, it's like, I mean, because in a way, it's like that's actually the easy route. For you, you're like, yeah, I could just get up there and be like the most, the inspiring, person in the wheelchair. Or
I'd make a shit ton more money if I did.
I know, but you're like, but I don't want, that's not, I mean, it's in a way too, it's like, it's more inspiring that you're interested in subverting the expectations to me.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, that's why I freaking tried to disappeared like Batman in the night. Fucking, I was like, what the fuck? But but like, I think that's not uncommon with a lot of visionaries that I love, where they are in like maybe a marginal group or in a population that is not necessarily like the status quo. And then they find themselves, different or alienated or just not in sync with that population as well. It's like you become the sort of, the separate, the separate individual. I think that's it. I mean, like, honestly, I think being in touch with yourself and your sort of calling or like your own sensibilities is like the thing that's going to push you to your highest highs anyways.
Yeah. And anyone, I mean, in a way, even if you're a white guy, straight white guy, even if you're in a way, in a way, you're also operating under these constraints where how do you make yourself interesting if that's all you have? At base,
Yeah.
That's not all you have. And then you start to realize that we're not, that's not all that we are. We're a whole brain with weird shit crawling around. And, these are just our flesh suits that we got to operate in.
Yeah, I think like reserving judgment and allowing things to kind of just show up in their own organic way is that's the only way that we're really going to be able to see each other's humanity. The other day I was playing basketball at Mosswood, and this I was playing, this dude fouled me. He hit my hand super, super loud. And I was like, oh, that's a foul. And this old dude on the on the sidelines, he goes, that wasn't a foul. And I was like, oh, he slapped. I think my whole hand is red. He slapped me. He's all, it's red because you're a honky. You feel entitled to every foul that comes on, and I was like, I was all, oh no, like, no, I'm getting roasted, and then everybody's laughing and stuff. And like, what I realized was that this guy doesn't know that, like I probably fantasize about, the destruction of cops and white supremacy as much as I can. You know what I mean? As like,
fantasize about it.
Yeah, I fantasize about destroying it. But you know what? I was like, oh, he doesn't see me as somebody with potential outside of that. He's wounded by his experiences in a shitty culture. So he's like got these judgments and feelings. And so like, as much as it made me uncomfortable, because my instinct is to prove that I'm one of the good ones, but I'm like, you know what? It's not really my journey to prove that. I'd like to be given the chance to show anybody that I'm a good person, or that I've changed, or that I'm not like one of these, oblivious white freaks out here, wild in America. But I think that I kind of like learned this lesson where I was like, I do that too. I think I do that to people where I'm like, you just sort of judge it's a survival instinct, but if we work hard to, I think, undermine the instinct to try to judge people, I think like it would work out better. But it's hard, man. Like I feel like what you do every time you don't, tell me what you think about this, but like every time you don't do what's expected of you, you're changing somebody's mind.
Yeah, it's weird because it's like, people obviously look at me and have whatever, hopefully people are open-minded, and I met a lot of open-minded people who don't assume things about me, and we start very colorful relationships out of that. But most people look at me and they think I'm still a virgin who lives with my parents. So it's right. Like, it's kind of like, it is what it is. But I think, part of me getting into comedy was wanting to literally get into a microphone and tell everyone, no, you're wrong. This is what I really am like. Yeah. And literally scream that into the room and make everyone stop and turn and go, oh, okay. And that was like a really cathartic outlet for me when I would go out and I would get judged or maybe talked down to or maybe misunderstood by every person in the whole room from the minute I got there, and then just getting on the mic and going, okay, let's set the record straight. And, kind of like, and then after I got off the mic, it was like night and day. People would treat me like completely different. Yeah. I had complete respect. Like, I remember, and that's kind of this weird, addicting thing about stand-up, which who knows if it's healthy or not? I don't know. But it's like if you're funny, a lot of times if you're funny, you earn the respect of your coworkers and your other comedians more so than if you're not funny or if you're not trying. Like maybe you're not funny, but people can tell you're trying, and that counts for something too, you know. But if you're not taking it seriously and you're just getting up there to get a participation trophy and get drunk and be a buffoon, then people aren't gonna like you very much. But I remember there was one night I went to Bricks for an open mic, and I was totally feeling myself. I wasn't dressed up, but I was like feeling okay. But I had to eat, and I had to eat a big sloppy hamburger, and I brought my assistant, and I sat in the very corner of the room, and I was being fed this hamburger with a bib, and at that point I didn't care because I was just like,
Yeah.
I knew all the people there, and I don't care anymore. But I noticed like 3 or 4 other comics who I respect, like sat and hung out with me while I ate, like just like we all hung out and shot the shit. And I was just like, this would never happen if obviously if I didn't know them, but it's like if I wasn't funny or I didn't take my craft seriously, like I like to hope that, or I like to think that people like me genuinely.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, in this way with comedy, you're able to exist outside of your, the disabilities and the expectations of what that is, or like people's judgments, and that like, you're able to just be like a funny ass person and have respect. And then everybody's like, oh, hell yeah, there's Jade. Let's go chill with Jade and see what's up. Like, I love every conversation I ever have with you. I'm like learning. I'm learning more things. I'm understanding myself. I'm understanding the relationship to like, excess.
I love our friendship, by the way. I think it's so fucking good.
Oh, cool. That makes me so happy. Hell yeah.
Yeah, you like brought me through some dark times.
Well, I mean, I think like the struggles we have, or the stuff that we deal with in our lives is the thing that kind of connects us the most. That's what's so weird about being a human, is that we're kind of denying each other's suffering a lot. And that's sad because it's the thing that we all have, really.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, it's interesting as when we were talking a couple weeks ago, and I was like thinking like, even some of the way that we've survived as people is sort of like, just sort of trying to not be a burden and all this stuff. Like, I was really relating to you. I was like, dude, this is so interesting because the suffering goes person to person. It doesn't matter who. It's like, it's in all of us. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, on the outside, we are as different demographically as you could get, but like, when it boils down, it's like we're both artists, and we both have the same anxieties, and that kind of shows that a lot of people all have the same anxieties. We all want to be loved and accepted and understood, and yeah, I just feel like it's weird. It's magical.
It is magical. It's magical to see it that way. Like, I think that I am a very isolated person. I spend tons of time alone. I'm sure you understand what that's like.
Oh yeah. Are you an ambivert?
I don't know. Is that when you go out, you do a lot of socializing, and then you go home, and then you're just like, I don't want to talk to anybody for a long time? Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's like the fuck it all definition, but yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's like you have a balance. Yeah, you have a balance. Like you get energy from people, but you also need to recharge. You're not one way or the other,
Yeah, I think I have that for sure. Cause I I sometimes love being social and going out, but then it's interesting. Like as I get more into understanding my own limitations and that I don't push myself more than I did in the past where I'm like, this is what I should do. I should go be social and do this and do that instead of actually paying attention to how I feel. I'm sort of like pushing myself. So yeah, I think that it's easier for me now because I'm like, dude, I'm not going out. I don't want to, I realize too, I'm like, when I really try to pay attention to my internal core self and there's a lot of shit that I've done that I didn't want to do, like going to certain like concerts and show and doing things and stuff and going out. And I'm like, I don't want to fucking do this at all.
Now you're an old man.
Yeah, now I'm ancient, but So I don't know if you feel like talking about it because I'll talk about it. But my experience with taking Prozac and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Like like my whole life, I was like, I'm not taking pills. I don't need this shit. I can be myself. I can overcome this and whatever. And it was interesting because it took one meeting with this incredible therapist woman who listened to me talk and just immediately said, you don't sound like you're thinking clearly. Your brain is not getting the stuff that it needs to be able to think clearly and to make, and I was just like, nobody's ever like really just spoken to me straightforward like this. And then I took it and it started working pretty good, pretty fast. And now it's like, my brain is getting some of the serotonin and dopamine and stuff that it needs, not just from the internet. It's from the pills. But you're saying that you started taking some and you're feeling better now a little bit, or what's going on?
Well, update. No.
Give me an update. I want to know.
I know. No, I feel like so a lot of what's been happening is I've been trying to rationalize my decision to take it. Because I haven't wanted to. I don't want to fuck with my brain chemistry. And I feel like and my therapist is trying to get me on psych meds for a while now. And I haven't wanted to do it. But it's like I've been medicating with weed like since college, like basically since the end of my teen years, I've been high. I've been constantly stoned since the age of 17. Okay. So it's like whatever my brain was supposed to be, I don't know what it was supposed to turn into because I've been smoking pot and I've been drinking and, I don't drink as much anymore, but I came out of childhood. I went from childhood to that. So it was like, it was difficult. And in the past 6 months, like I got COVID and just a bunch of circumstantial shit, like my fucking, I don't mind being open about this. My insurance got fucking destroyed, which destroyed my life in a lot of ways. And then my dad got cancer. And it's just like, it's just like a lot of situational shit happened. When I told my therapist, and I said, the only reason I need to take these drugs is because America sucks. Yeah. Like, it's not me. It's not my business. I'm fine.
Yeah, the thing that I realized from researching a lot of stuff about brain chemistry and brain development, because like I went deep into it because I'm like, there's gotta be a way I can figure this out. But what happens is when you're growing up and in your development, and if you start to develop feelings that are not like idealistic environmental encouragement, where it's like you have like supportive parents and they're not stressed and they're fine and everything's good and you have access to stuff and you're not like, oh, I'm a burden. Like my parents are upset and sad and poor or whatever. I got to stay out, I got to eat less, or whatever. I got to just be small and like accommodate everything and whatever. What happens is your brain stops releasing those chemicals and developing like a normal system of working in that way. And that's what like depression really comes from, is that it's your brain is functioning with like its hands tied behind its back because it doesn't have the chemicals that make it feel good to be balanced. Then, so you always, as a borderline, you feel like shit. And then you're like, all right, well, I'm going to smoke weed or drink alcohol or do whatever I can to try to like maintain and stuff like that. And it's like, it's kind of fine, but it's not a fix. It's like a Band-Aid. But then if you add on stuff like your dad's got cancer and your insurance is canceled and like things are going bad and people are being weird and all this shit, it's very, to me, a brave survival tactic to actually look for help, because in America we're convinced that you shouldn't need help, you shouldn't need anything. And it's like, actually, why? I do need stuff. I need friends that love me. I need people that support me. I need health insurance. I need healthy food. I need good things to look forward to. And
I need a therapist, but I don't have one because my health insurance. So I'm on Prozac.
Yeah, but like the thing is that like it's sort of like when you go bowling, and you're bowling, and having depression is like there's those bumpers aren't up. So the ball goes into the gutter, but having Prozac for me is like having the bumpers up so that like the ball doesn't go, I don't go off the deep end and I can just kind of keep functioning. And when terrible things happen, I'm sort of like, okay, I am sad about this and I'm having my feelings, but I'm not going to spiral into like some like,
Man, I hope we're as similar as we think we are. Cause I'm on week, I don't know. I'm a noob with it, and it was pretty terrible. It's like the last 2 days were fine, just staring at my calendar and just.
You're like, but are you feeling like a sort of a difference or no, not really?
No, the only difference I felt was I wanted to like totally jump off a bridge last week. So, I'm fine now.
Okay.
But, and I wrote some good jokes about it.
There you go. So, but some people need different stuff too. It's like different things work for different people, but I'm here for you to communicate about it.
I put that hotline in the link since I said that. You're obligated now since I said that. You have to put the hotline in the link, Skinner. No.
Anyways, whatever. We don't have to talk about that stuff, but like, I just want to check in because I think I've noticed that through the pandemic that it's really exposed a lot of stuff for different people. It's really shown a lot of things, and that a lot of truths, personal truths for myself, a lot of like stuff. It's like,
dude, I want to go back to lockdown. That's what I really want. Like,
did you like it?
Oh yeah. Oh, it was great. I was like, once my shitty roommate left and I got a good roommate, and we had this cat, and it was just like, we just wake up and meditate every morning.
Oh.
And like I was into that. You ever get into TM, transcendental meditation?
No, that's for rich people. I thought that's for
if you want
celebrities. Do you do TM?
Not in a serious like I'm committed way, but I have. Yeah, it's a weird experience. Because, everyone does it different, but I don't like to do stoned because I like to have my mind in a blank place. But the problem is I have a hard time not being stoned because I don't like the feeling of being sober.
Me neither.
But yeah, I know. I mean, I'm getting better. I'm able to go full days now, but it's still. But when it's weird when you meditate, you get into this space, at least for me, that's sometimes actually really scary because my brain's constantly like talking, like it's just nonstop, like ideas, anxieties, just everything.
Right.
But when I meditate and turn everything off, it's okay to let those things come up. Like the goal is not to push it down. The
Yeah.
goal is to just, if it does come up, kind of gently go, okay, yeah, just calm down. Like that. It's kind of this,
Yeah.
just kind of, but then when I start doing that, if I don't do it for a while, I start sobbing in the
Yeah.
middle of meditation.
But you're
'Cause it's
supposed to,
like,
I heard that if you don't cry while you're meditating, like if you don't cry sometimes, that it's maybe you're not really meditating that good or
oh,
something.
you read that?
Yeah. In one of these books, one of these Jack,
Cool.
it was a Jack Cornfield book, After the Ecstasy, the Laundry, his book that I really like.
Yeah, it's like the Matrix. It's like,
Yeah, because the
but
TM, I was like, oh, I know transcendental meditation costs money to do it.
no, it doesn't cost money.
Right. David Lynch does it, and all these
It costs money if you buy it. Like if you want to like buy into the fucking corporate, like, but it's really simple. It's just you're supposed to meditate 20 minutes twice a day, so 40 minutes total. And I don't do that. I manage 20 minutes once a day every 2 weeks. So, like,
Wait, so but what's interesting is when I'm meditating, it does kind of calm me back down, even though I'm having like in the insane monkey mind is going crazy.
it's
But
like a drug. It is like a drug.
yeah, but when I'm running around doing shit and I'm kind of going, like, I do feel like my monkey mind is creating anxious energy. And but when I'm just sort of sitting and drawing for hours and I'm listening to music and I'm like, and then I turn the music off and it's just quiet and I'm like, wow, this is cool. This is what it's all about. This is like life is actually happening and I can be present with it,
Yeah.
Is that what it's like with comedy? Like it's the ultimate form of being present.
Well, that made me think of, so comedy and painting are, so it's, I don't know, I have different relationships because I do a lot of different mediums, art wise. And I actually do like to paint a lot. I just don't publish a lot. But that's, I mean, I do that because it's, like you monetize and you have a business and this is your whole career. But so that makes it feel so different. Like, like, because when you're just painting or creating something with you're not even showing it to anyone. It's just like, it's for you. It's just for you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've been there many times as well. And I'm still there in a lot of ways. But with comedy, it's like, I don't know, it's different because it's like when I paint, I can listen to music. There's an audio element. And I don't like, or when I'm doing anything painting is really the only thing I can listen to music. And I do it so that I can listen to music. Like it's almost like a means to an end. And or when I'm editing a video, if there's no sound and it's just visual editing, which in a lot of ways feels like painting, but it's moving pictures, I can listen to music. But then and when I'm listening to music, I am so just at peace and calm, and I could do that for 5 hours with nothing but that's not what I do. I'm a performer. I'm mainly a performer, and I get lonely when I stay inside and either work on visual editing or painting or flyer making. Like I just get lonely because I'm stuck with this music that I love, but I go into myself. So I have to have comedy, and I have to have performance. But that stuff is really hard for me because I can't stay present because I'm not listening to anything. So I'm just pacing around with all this chatter in my head,
Yeah.
So it's like, but I'm able to manage it. It's just the presence is different. I'm present on stage. There's nothing else but the stage in that moment, but the prep is a bitch.
Yeah. Because, like being in that, because to me, it's whenever I'm doing any like performative stuff, it's really hard. It's like I almost can't see anything. Like I'm in this full on anxious mode because I'm so nervous about being in front of people and being exposed for like whatever. But like, being able to have a joke in your mind, know what you're doing, looking at people, noticing what's happening, seeing a person look weird, and then maybe you talk about that and then coming back and then like noticing in the back if there's, it's like, it's so much shit, like so much stuff, like it feels overwhelming. Like, I can't believe that people do it. I'm impressed.
It's like, I think it's like any performance. Once you just have to start doing it, and it gets easier and easier and easier because you start to trust yourself. And there's little tricks like, I know that if I went up there without my notes, I'd be fucked. I go off notes. And some comics will say that's unprofessional or that shows you. But it's like, fuck no. Galifianakis uses his notes, and Dion Cole uses notes, and it's a normal thing to do. And it's not like if you're reading, that's distracting. But if you have that crutch and you just need to glance over at the set list, musicians do it all the time. So, there's little tricks that you just have to keep in mind that, like, to make it easier, memorize as much as you can. The more memorized you are, the less anxious you'll be. Because if it's coming out like, I memorize and have notes. Anyway, I'm talking shop, but
no, I think this is fascinating. It's
like I'll have a set list with some keywords, or maybe if I wrote some new things, I'll write it down. But I'm not reading it because I mostly have it memorized. And if I didn't have it memorized, I'd be nervous because I'd be so nervous about what I'm supposed to say because I forgot what I was supposed to say. It would just take completely away from the performance. So knowing what you want to say is half the battle. And also, I've been trying to get into acting. And for the last 5 years, I've been acting and learning and studying. And I have to say, that is probably the hardest medium I've ever encountered in my life. It's stumping me right now in a way.
It is?
A little bit. I have little revelations as I'm learning, but it makes me so nervous because it's like, in my mind, I thought, oh, this is easy. You just read the line and say it. They give you the line. What's so hard about that? But it's not enough to have the line. You actually have to convince yourself that you're that person. You have to trick your brain. Because if you don't believe that you're that person, they won't believe you. Right. And that is like the most counterintuitive mental leap that I've ever encountered. So I'm having fun with that, but that's hard.
All right, let's do acting right now. Ready?
Oh, God. Oh, fuck.
Okay. What should I do?
Oh God, now I'm director too. What the fuck, Skinman?
All right, wait, hold on. I'll do it. Okay. It's a little boy who caught a fish for his mom and his family, and is a poor swamp child.
Little John. Your name was Little John.
Little John. All right, ready? Here we go. Yeah. Mama, I caught a catfish for the family. We're gonna eat tonight. Woo!
Oh, honey, that's Paul Mercury. You gotta throw that back in there. You ain't gonna pop cancer.
Mercury makes.
No, you ain't getting cancer again. What the fuck's wrong with you?
Mercury make my bones soft, Mama. We got soft bones here in the swamp.
Let me get the dog. That sounds fucking dog.
Let me get the dog.
Get the dog.
I guess we're going to eat the dogs again tonight.
We'll just chew on little Johnny.
Little Johnny, get you. Yeah, okay. That's it.
Just improv. You got me all caught up on improv.
You got mud. You spoiled. You got mud, and you got catfish guts on your overall. Yeah, no, acting is weird, but when I did do the acting in that Budfoot movie, I was like, I mean, it's borderline. That movie is like borderline biographical or whatever. So it wasn't like I was doing the stretch. It wasn't like I was Robert De Niro or another, but I did feel like, all it is pretending good. And then I was thinking,
I pretend good, Mama. I pretend real good.
I pretend good, Mama.
I pretend real good.
See, I think you got.
I've been in school for it, so I better got it. Fucking government. The government's investing in me, so.
Hey, I have good news, by the way. So, by the way, I've been in talks with this company. This guy that he owned this website called Bloody Disgusting.
Ooh.
They got bought by a company called Cinedigm, which owns Screambox, a horror streaming service. And so I've been in talks with them to do a skin crawl radio play type podcast. And so we'll have you do the voice we're going to do the Jade Crush story, the assassin story. And so you could do the voice for your character in that.
Yeah.
Story.
I got a whole booth all set up. I'm all ready to go, dude.
You are. Okay, good.
I'm all set up.
Okay, good. Because there is dialogue for you in there, and it's going to be good and it's going to be funny. And I'm actually really pumped because if we get it done right, it's going to be some legendary shit, I think. It's going to be.
Oh, we're going to do it right. We're going to do it.
Yeah. But my main goal is to have it be turned into a film. I'm going to harass Robbie Ratcliffe about it. And
Ratcliffe and Resnick. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get them. I'm going to be like, we got to do this movie, man.
Oh, my hero.
So, God. Yeah. After you sent me those links to watch Alan Resnick's stuff, I was like blown away by how fucking insane strange his stuff is. Did you
watch Alan Tutorial?
Yes, I watched them all.
Oh God. What did you think about that? I'm curious what you thought about it.
Well, what I thought was first of all, I think when those were coming out, it was this very long-term project. So they were coming out infrequently, right? And sometimes months would go by and stuff. So I'm spoiled because now I'm watching it later. And so I get to see all of it at once. Yeah. And what was interesting was I watched it all and I'm like, this is insane. But then I was like, I got to know more about this. So then I looked up a YouTube tutorial or a YouTube channel that was like explaining Alan tutorial, the whole thing.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch that, but I've been hesitating because I don't want to ruin the fucking. Should I watch it?
Well, all they do is just explain like how it was happening, what it was happening, and then like kind of like making observations that I think are cool.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah, and this house has people in it. I was like, this is. But, everything they're doing is deconstructing modernity. It's deconstructing the hypnotized masses of, mundane cultural citizenry or whatever. It's like, it's very, very, it's not overt. It's like, I was watching people try to understand this house has people in it.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, this is a analogy for, or a metaphor for neglect or something. And
Oh, yeah.
I was like, maybe, but it's not that obvious. It's like,
Well, I think it's the age-old debate of, is what the author intended the same as what we're all interpreting, or did they, like, I was in a weird situation last week where well, it wasn't weird, but it was a good friend of mine teaches a film class in Boston, and he wanted me to speak about my work and stuff. So, and these film students, I showed them Masked and Abused, what we made, and these film students, they're so analytical, and my friend warned me they're very left wing. So can you explain the politics of the film and the racial politics and all this stuff? And I'm like, Keith wore that Obama shirt without me asking him to. I don't know. It just
right, like actually there really was no intention. It's just but I think I understand the sort of relentless excavation of what's this, what's that, what is this, what's implied, what is all this. And I'll say it's hard for me to watch films and watch stuff without thinking through some of those filters. But I'm highly aware of how burdensome it can be to look through those filters and assume that there was intention when there wasn't.
Well, and you and me and other artists, we're on both sides. So, we consume art, whereas we'll see a piece of art and go, oh, that's the modernity of modern life, or they're trying to do this, or there's a message here. But when you're creating art, you know how your brain works. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'll speak for myself. I don't know how it is with you as a painter, but when I'm coming up with a joke or a movie idea or something, it's an impulse. It's not me going, how do I explain the modernity of modern life in the 21st?
Right.
I go, oh, this shock to my brain just hit me, and it's funny, and I have to perform it, and I don't know what it means, why I'm saying it, or it's just out there and it's got to be done, and the movie made, that was just, I had no fucking, it just was funny, and that's comedy. Comedy, you just do what's funny to you. You don't think why, or that's a whole thing to unpack. But it's like,
well, I know what you mean is like you can just sort of do something, and then all of a sudden it's burdened with extreme critique.
Yeah.
And you're like, none of this is true.
Maybe it is true. That's what I told the film students. I said, I'm not here to defend my movie. Like, if you don't like it, you don't like it. If you think it means something, then that's what it means. If the message that, if I say a bear shit in the woods, that's the words that came out of my mouth. So I could say that's not what I meant. I was just saying that to be artsy and cool. Bear didn't really shit in the woods.
Right. And also, like, how much of, like, even asking those students would be interesting to say, like, how much of your assuming things made you feel a certain way?
Sure. Or your life experience, or what.
Yeah.
How much of what the world has communicated to you gave you that language that you're speaking? Because the world communicated something to these people. And when they watched my film was translated through that language.
Right.
So I'm just operating off the language I know. I can't control how the messages get filtered.
Right. Yeah.
I can and I can't. And that's kind of like, the whole debate with cancel culture is kind of similar. Like, as an artist, if you're trying to do something specific with your art or communicate a certain message, you need to know what language everyone's speaking. So if fucking Dave Chappelle is going to go up there and tell a bunch of weird trans content jokes, if some people are speaking one language and they're going to interpret it another way, and other people are speaking another language, and it's the same characters, but they're going through different, you know. And he's got to know that everyone who speaks that other language is going to fucking hate his shit because his words said that to them. You know,
Right.
so if he's going to go in there oblivious and go, oh, I don't know why everyone's all pissed off, it's like you're an idiot. You don't know what world you're living in.
Right. Yeah. It's like take accountability for, or take responsibility for the world that you live in. I also kind of feel like understanding that everything is constantly changing is something that people have a hard time to grasping. And I'm like, I feel unburdened by needing to understand everything and have a right opinion about everything when I accept that everything changes. I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. And as soon as I just take that stance, I can kind of go, oh, cool. You're this is how you perceive yourself. Interesting. Okay, cool.
Nuance is liberating. Yeah.
I don't have anything invested in how fucking, like, if somebody's non-binary today and then the next day they're over masculine or not, or if somebody's trans, like, I just feel like you need to interpret your own experiences the way you need to. And I support the space for that. I don't care what that is.
I think that nuance gets lost when people feel that they're in danger.
Yeah.
So when Trump got elected, you know, I'm not saying he's a cause, it was building up to that, but he was kind of the big bottleneck. It's like people were so feeling like their lives were in danger that these righties were being violent toward them by electing this guy. And in a lot of ways they were. You know, I mean, this was an act of aggression against the American people. So when that happens, nuance is no longer comfortable.
Right. Well, it's like, it feels like having nuance in the face of, you know, aggressive supremacy and like fearful white people are the most dangerous, you know, of them all, basically, you know? And so it's like, you know, well, we can't give them any room. And so I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah. I think, you know, nuance is especially important to hold because it's painful to think in black and white. It really is. And it kind of like cuts you off from a lot of stuff. I'm not saying
it's a defense mech.
Yeah. I mean, it's surviving, you know, and I understand that, you know, you have to be black and white when it comes to certain things, but as far as like overviews of life and shit, you know, it's like I was thinking when I started to have sympathy for people who did me wrong was when I felt free from hating them or being angry at them or, you know what I mean? And so it's like such a weird thing. Cause it's like, yeah, if I see like a white supremacist person, like attacking somebody, like I will address that directly. But as far as like spending any time hating them, it just feels like that's just poisoning me because I want to show up as like as a loving guy. I want to be fun and sweet and then do direct action when it's time. That's it.
One thing I've noticed is that for me, it's easy to be zen when I'm not close to the person. So it's a family. Like there's some family in my life that are conservative and have politics that I find to be hateful and disgusting. And it's hard because it's like, if like they weren't my family, I could back up and be like, okay, you're a product of your environment.
Right.
You know, you're just like, you're a human like me. And but then when they're family, it's like, I want nothing to do with you. And I get all this vitriol, you know, in myself. And I'm not proud of it. I want to be zen about it. I want to have nuance about it. I want to love them through it because they do deserve to be loved through it. You know, it doesn't mean they're terrible people, but it's like I catch myself in these primitive, like, you know, like thoughts and feelings. Same with neighbors. You know, my parents live in Los Gatos, and you know, my parents are conservative, but they live around kind of conservative, and I met a Trump supporting neighbor, and I was disappointed in myself because this was in the middle of the worst Trumpian uprising, lockdown, Corona time. So my emotions were on high. And I wanted nothing to do with him. I didn't want to talk to him. We were on the brink of civil war. What was I supposed to,
Right.
I was polite. I wasn't an asshole, but it's like.
Yeah, I think it's like it's really hard with family and stuff because it does feel threatening because it feels like it's like people who are acting out of fear and who have been basically propagandized to think that they're a victim when they're not.
Yeah.
Is so volatile. And I know a lot of boomers feel like victims, and they feel like when we, younger people say, man, things could be better. They're just like, you're pathetic. We went without anything. We suffered.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, but you didn't have to. Look at that beautiful thing.
I know. Don't mind me. I'm just moving my body.
But anyways, whatever. We had a good time. This has been about an hour. I don't know if you feel good about this conversation. It's been really nice to talk.
I feel like we covered a lot of ground. We should do it again.
Yeah, absolutely can. And I'm gonna, be in touch about. I see those walls are a little bare. I got these prints. I know.
I did this on purpose, Gary. So
I keep saying I'm going to bring these prints, and I keep fucking flaking.
You know what I want? I will buy the shirt if you want. I want the cat. I want the Grim Reaper cat.
Just tell me what size.
Oh, any size.
I'm not going to put some fucking triple XL on you. Just tell me what size.
Yeah.
Oh, medium? You want a medium shirt?
No, I want it on my wall.
Oh, you want that on the wall?
I want that on the fucking wall. But if you only have a shirt, I guess I will.
Well, I can make that into a print for you.
Really?
Yes.
I'll support that.
I can do anything for love.
That's all I want. But don't do that.
I can do that.
Okay.
But anyways, thanks for showing the cool arm. It's wiggling and woggling around, man. It's fucking cool.
I know. It keeps me hydrated.
All right, Jade, this has been awesome. I love you a lot.
I love you too. Let's make a movie.
All right, let's do it.